Welcome to the Smart Property Investment Show with your host, Phil Tarrant.
Okay, everyone, how are you going? Thanks for joining us on the Smart Property Investment Show today. Pleasure for you to join us on board as we discuss all things property. And top of my mind at the moment, I'm actually thinking about what's happening in property moving forward. Is it a good time to buy? Is it a bad time to buy? Is negative gearing going to be scrapped? It's front and centre of a lot of people right now. And we like to get the stories from property investors themselves about where they see and where they sit in the world. Today, Josh Burgess, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
I sort of stumbled it up because I got the wrong. My handwriting's not great, actually. He's at the sort of early end of property investing, so I thought I'd bring him in and pick his brain to see how he's going with things, how concerned he is with life in general. Josh, how you going, mate?
Yeah, good, thank you.
So you're sort of on the early side of investing. You've got one investment property at the moment?
Yeah, one investment at the moment. I did have two at one stage, but decided to sell one and put the money back into the mortgage to sort of, help with the equity and that kind of stuff with the hopes of being able to buy a second one.
So tell me about the investment property that you have.
So I've probably had it for about 7 to 8 years. It's a 55 square metre, one bedder in Potts Point.
Okay.
So right near the Coke sign. Had a bit of help from the bank of mum and dad.
Good.
But, more than just the cash, they're sort of in the property game and they were able to really guide me on what was a good investment in terms of good rental return, a strong sort of area to not see any decrease in value and that kind of stuff. So that was pretty handy for me. And certainly it's been something that I've been able to sort of just leave without having too much thought behind, am I going to be worse off? And it's just sort of done its own thing, which is great. And it has put me in a position where I can go out and start thinking about using that equity to buy something else. But again, I'd probably go back to them for help on what would be a good investment.
Well, it's a good strategy, right? Leg up of the bank of mum and dad. And a lot of people have done it. I know a lot of people have done it. If you've got it, use it would be my point. But how did that work? Do they go, look, we're happy to sort of, kickstart you into a property, here's a deposit or here's part of a deposit, but you got to sort everything out yourself? How did it work?
So I've got two brothers. I think it was the passing of my grandmother, and mum said, she wanted to help us all, so she gave us all an equal amount of money, and she probably was, integral in helping all of us pick what we were going to invest in. There was a stage where we were going to all invest together, but, she never wanted money to come between us, so we decided to go our separate ways and invest. But she's very savvy with that kind of stuff, so it was really a great help to have her, not only for the cash side, but be able to pick a good investment, because I guess the one that I sold off was out in the Blue Mountains in a not so great area, and the rental return was pretty poor. The value of it wasn't increasing.
So you bought that? So you bought two places, one in the Blue Mountains, one in Potts Point?
The one in the Blue Mountains was an inheritance, but the return on it was just poor.
Not good.
There was also issues with strata, and basically a guy had a controlling share of the strata. Okay. So he couldn't do anything.
Did you sell it to him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
Did you get a good price for it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he's just trying to control the whole unit. How many units were there in the block?
I think there was about 24, and he had 18 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
The strata managers were getting paid a pretty penny, and I'm pretty sure they were his mates and that kind of stuff. So it was kind of something you wanted to get out of pretty quickly, I think.
Just a rort.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think the money was better invested in the, sort of, I guess you'd call it blue chip real estate in the heart of Sydney.
So did you sell that and stick it all into the other one?
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So look, the repayments are pretty manageable, and as I said, it's in a position where it just does its own thing, which is really nice for me. Pay an agent to look after it and don't have to worry too much about it. It's also down near the Navy base, so I've had a tenant in there that
all the time.
Yeah, subsidised by the Navy, and has been there for 6 years, and half the time she's out at sea, so the damage on the property is pretty minimal and repairs.
They can be great. The sailors can be great tenants, or the worst in the world, right? Because if they're mates there all the time, keep them indoors. But not to say that sailors are crazy people. But so when you were given this chunk of cash to invest, like you and your brothers, was there rules around it saying you had to buy a property with it? You couldn't go, I'm going to invest in a round the world drinking holiday and get experience?
No, absolutely not. Yeah, it was very strict requirements. As I said, the parents have really done well out of the property market, and that was 100% a requirement that we invest in something that was blue chip, something that, we weren't looking to flip in a couple of years, something that we weren't, wanting to sort of redo and refurbish and any of that kind of stuff. It was about strong rental return and good increase in capital. So not for you to
live in, it had to be an investment property, or you could live in it if you wanted to?
Oh, I could live in it if I wanted to, but I mean,
So this is a foundation stone for a property portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what do you think it's worth these days?
I would say 620 to 650.
Okay.
Yep.
And you holding much debt on it?
No, I'd have about 80% equity.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you're cashed up, ready to go if you wanted to
Yeah.
do it. So is that the game plan? You're going to realise some of that equity and go and buy some more stuff, or you're just going to let it sit there?
It is the plan, but I guess that's the problem with the bank of mum and dad and having, the insight from them is that it makes you a bit fearful that if you were to go out and do it without them, that you might make the wrong decision and throw it all away. So it is something I want to do, but it's something that I feel like I probably need a bit of good guidance
Some
on.
help and support. That's why you can listen to
I was going to say,
like this.
I need to be listening to this podcast more, yeah.
Yeah, I don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about, but there's other people that come on here that actually know what they're talking about.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's not me. But that's cool. So how old are you? You're pretty young, right?
Well, I like to think so. 32.
Yeah. Okay, so you're young. So you've got heaps of time. Are you in a rush to invest in property or more property, or not sure? See what happens?
I wouldn't say I'm in a rush, but I guess like everyone around my age, you think about, when you're young, time seems like it goes forever. And then when you get to this age, you think about how quickly it does actually disappear. So it's probably one of those things where I am better off getting into it sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
But again, the political sort of aspect comes into it. Should I buy something before they scrap negative gearing? I don't know. Is it a reason to rush out and buy another property straight away?
Yeah. Well, they reckon it's going to be a mini property boom in the sort of coming months. Should Labor get elected, everyone will be go out then and buy property because on the basis that they will remove negative gearing at a point in time, and it will be grandfather. And grandfather means, if you're not too sure about some of these sort of terms, that if you bought the property before that the new regulation comes in place, is that you can still get the benefits of negative gearing. So everyone's going to rush out there and buy property, is what everyone's saying. So you've got to be conscious. Have your brothers done any more property investing after they sort of entered the market?
Yeah, one of them actually, much to Mum's dismay, invested in Toronto.
Okay.
So his wife is a Canadian, so they bought a house over in Toronto. I don't think the market over there has been quite as strong as Sydney. So he has since bought a little studio in Darlington in Sydney. And the other one sold his investment, which he went halves with his wife, and bought a family home up in Mona Vale.
Okay, that's cool. So everyone's using it in their own particular way?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's got 2 kids. I don't. So I don't need to find a big family home up on the beaches at the moment. But
so do you see sort of some long-term wealth creation strategy through property investing, or is it just let's see what happens? What do you do for a living? Like, what's your job?
I work at Flight Centre as a travel agent.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. And you enjoy you just help people out all day. Oh, you just Flight Centre, so hooking them into holidays. You ever sit there thinking that's where I should be spending my money, is going on holidays, or you a bit over travel and all that sort of?
I spend a lot of money on holidays. It's probably a bit of a worry about getting more debt under my name. I like to live a good lifestyle like most people in Sydney and go travelling and all that kind of stuff. So I certainly wouldn't want to mortgage myself up to the hilt. But for me, it's been a long-term sort of strategy. I've watched my parents be able to have a pretty cruisy sort of latter life, and that's where I'd like to see myself.
So you see how property can help you sort of obtain a prize of some sort, but how you work out how you get there. A lot of people will be sitting there thinking that you got a 80% equity on a 600. What do you say? It's about $650,000 place.
Yeah.
Like if you spoke to one of the people that know what they're doing and that come on this show, they'll be going, look, you can move pretty quickly to start beefing out a pretty significant property portfolio on the basis that you have, I don't know, $370,000 in equity. You could go and buy X number of properties. What do you think would need to happen for you to start doing that?
Oh, I'd have to be a bit more of a risk taker than I probably am, I think. I mean, there's another guy that I work with in Flight Centre who's pretty successful, and he's got a massive portfolio as well. And, so I chat property with him a bit, and he's always telling me, why aren't you buying? I say, there's this great suburb in Adelaide I'm looking at the moment, or this great place in Brisbane and all this kind of stuff. And he's, tries to push me. But I guess the other side is that my parents are pretty old school with their sort of investment strategies. So they would never buy in another city because they couldn't go and visit it or fix it up themselves or that kind of stuff. So I'm sort of torn between this wanting to take risks, but sort of unsure about whether I actually should, and probably, how my parents would feel about it, because I in some way probably feel a little bit beholden to them around the fact that it is somewhat theirs. I mean, it's not at all, but I have this sort of mentality that if I was to make a decision like that, I'd probably have to go back to them.
Involve them in the decision making.
Yeah,
which there's nothing wrong with. Like, if you want to use them as sounding board rather than asking permission, right? That's for you to sort out. So.
Yeah, you like to think so, but you never know where that ends up, right?
Yeah. So you got a property manager that looks after the place. How's that go? Does it work pretty well?
Yeah. Look, I mean, it's great. Like every industry, I guess it depends on the person. So I've certainly had my fair share of agency managers over the years, and some of them are better than others. But it's pretty handy being able to just get them to go and do the fire inspections or whatever it is, get a report on what needs to be fixed, that kind of stuff. So it's well worth the money for me. As I said, it's kind of an investment that I don't want to sort of have to think too much about, and so that it can be a long-term thing. I don't want to spend a lot of time over the next 10 years having to go there all the time. So
yeah, do you even think about it, or just no? It's just
not really.
It just is. Like when it comes tax time, your accountant goes, what income have you generated off this? That's pretty much the extent of it.
Yeah, I mean, tax time's probably the time that I think about it the most in terms of negative gearing, especially. Should I go out and sort of remortgage and reinvest the money somewhere else and try and negative gear it and that kind of stuff. But again, it's one of those things where I think it's probably the least of my worries.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing to have it positively geared necessarily.
Oh, it's great if you got it. So it puts money in your back pocket, right? Like how much you earn, do you know how much sort of a month comes in your back pocket as a result of it?
Yeah, I mean, gross rental income's about 21 or 2,200 a month.
Okay.
Yeah, and then pay expenses out of that, so
it's a good earner.
Yeah, it's a great earner.
Yeah. So do you save that money or you spend it?
A bit of both. Depending on how many holidays I book. Yeah. I've got a business class trip coming up to Africa, so I've spent a bit recently. But yeah, no, I certainly have an offset account, where I keep a bit of money and that kind of stuff.
Okay, so do you have it completely, like, does the savings you have offset the interest you pay on the whatever the 20% of it, which has still got debt on it? Is it like a completely neutral scenario for you? Okay.
No, and I guess again, this is sort of where I talk to my tax man about what the best way to sort of work it is. Am I better off leaving it in the offset account, or am I better off having a bit of income taken out of my...
You'd be saying you want to try and get some gearing benefits off it, right? So pay the debt, and that's where a good accountant sort of comes into play to make sure that is probably pretty sage advice. If it's all 100% income producing, it means you've got to pay tax on that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good position to be in, but I think a lot of people would love to be in your situation, but have about 20 or 30 of those properties, right? That's retirement for a lot of people.
Exactly, and that's that's the aim of the game. But I do probably need to put my skates on and start building up from 1 to get to the 20.
So what do you think is going to happen though for you to do that? Like, it sounds like you don't really think about it. It's pretty easy at the moment. Like, it's something. There's got to be a catalyst where you go, and it happens to most people. There's some sort of light bulb moment or oh shit moment or whatever it is. They go, I've got to start doing something, Yeah,
it's probably, I'm pretty happy in my job at the moment, and I earn pretty good money, and I focus quite heavily on that and building a career. But I imagine there's a time where I'm going to start thinking about not wanting to work, 40 or 50 or 60 hours a week. And for me, that's sort of, what I see property investment as, is being able to sort of have this retirement that's pretty cushy and a little bit earlier than most people,
Nice.
Even if it's dropping down to 2 or 3 days a week and being able to fund that from the investment, then, that's totally something I would want to work towards. But until I sort of don't want to be working 40 or 50 hours a week, I think I'm pretty happy doing what you're doing. Yeah.
How does it work with flight centre? So do you get like a base salary and then you get like so the harder you work, the more you earn, essentially?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so like commission or whatever, or is it bonuses, or how does it work?
Yeah, it's more on volume of sales than anything. So I'm also the store manager, so I get sort of a portion of sales that I sell individually. I get a portion of the store's profit.
Store stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
That kind of stuff.
So if you've got a really good team working hard, pushing through heaps of sales, it's great for you.
Yeah.
You earn more money and you can use that to do other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which store are you at?
One up on Miller Street. We actually look after corporate accounts if you're in the market.
Okay. I don't mind a pitch, I don't mind a salesman. Okay, how long have you been there for? Up on Miller?
Yeah, halfway between the Treehouse and the station.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know it.
Yeah, there's also the big one in the Elizabeth Plaza Court.
Yeah. Is that you guys as well? It's all interconnected.
Yeah, there's also a third one down on
There is 3, isn't there?
Yeah. We used to have 4.
Okay, but all a part of the same... They're store owned. Sorry, it's company owned. They're not franchised. No. So they're all the same sort of...
Yeah, all run head office.
You don't look at each other sort of down the street going, oh, we hate those guys down there and let's get them this week? Or is it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of competition. They send out, you know, sales figures for the areas and that kind of stuff. So they do.
Competition's cool.
Yeah, pit the stores against each other and that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, we're all pretty tight knit family. Yeah. They've got a great company culture, so it's a good place to work.
That's cool. Yeah. I really enjoyed the chat, Josh. You seem to sort of got what you're trying to do sorted, you know, like you know what I mean? Like, you know, you just sort of like, okay, well, you know, that's cool. Yeah.
Good. I mean, I do look at people like my mate who's got, 25 investment properties and think, God, I should be a go-getter. I should be out there doing that kind of stuff. But it works for me and I don't have to,
Do you find them annoying? Yeah, just shut up. Yeah, don't tell me to go.
Sometimes, yeah. And I always wonder whether he's trying to get me to invest to drive up his property prices.
Probably.
Yeah, come and invest in this suburb. It's awesome.
Does he actually frame, going back to like work, does he frame I work harder so I can invest more in property? Is that his...
Absolutely.
So two are intrinsically linked, right? He does this. He swaps his time for money to actually turn into investment properties. And
totally. He's all across it. He's also about contributing to his super over and above what the company does, and he's 100% thinking about that long term retirement strategy. So
let's get him on the podcast. It sounds like he
works down in Kirribilli. He's close by.
There's another flight centre down in Kirribilli, right? That one, or is it different?
Mate, we're worse than Starbucks. We're everywhere. Yeah.
How's the Kirribilli one? Because I live in Kirribilli. So how's the Kirribilli one go? Is that pretty good?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, about 7 years ago when I started, they were the world number one store.
World number one store, and we're in 30 countries around the world or something like that. So, like world number one in terms of the volume of holidays they're booking in revenue terms.
Yeah, profitability and that kind of stuff. So,
God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's the store manager? You should be store manager down there. Right? Yeah.
I've got a pretty good gig here.
Yeah, I bet you.
Yeah.
So what is it like? Just who like I've used Flight Centre. Who uses Flight Centre? Like anyone? They just go.
Anyone and everyone. I mean, I guess the brand I sit in is called Flight Centre Business Travel. So we're a normal Flight Centre retail store, but we sort of have an extra offering for corporate
business
clients.
Type stuff.
Yeah, so we get some corporate fairs. The one down in Kirribilli is just a sort of stock standard retail store, but repeat business is huge. Yeah,
it's good sort of catchment down that way.
Yeah,
people
absolutely.
who probably don't want to sit there and shop around themselves for a flight, which, by the way, is the most miserable thing to do in the world.
Horrible.
Anyway, I digress. Thanks for coming in, Josh. I really enjoyed the chat. Just up the road, We'll grab a coffee or something at some point. And,
cool.
You tell me all about it. But like I always say, if you're investing in property, whether you're sort of like Josh and you've got one property and hoping for more, or you've got plenty, come on and let us know how you see the world. We enjoy these conversations with property investors. You can email the team, editor at smartpropertyinvestment.com.au, and we'll get you on the studio. It's pretty easy, isn't it, Josh? Pretty relaxed.
Definitely.
Yep. Good. Good.
Yep.
Remember to check out smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. If you're not yet subscribing to our daily morning newsletter, so you're the first to know what's happening in property and property investment, smartpropertyinvestment.com.au/subscribe. If you're into social media and that's how you like to get your info, just search Smart Property HQ. Remember to press the subscribe button wherever you're listening to this right now. And if you like what we're doing, leave a review. 5 stars are good, and a couple of words. The team really do appreciate it. We'll be back again next time. Until then, bye-bye.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.